You're listening to the What's Up Wednesday podcast from AAHAA Supportive Housing.
Welcome, everybody. Recording from AAHAA Supportive Housing of What's Up Wednesday. Joining me today is one of our house managers, Todd. Welcome, Todd. Thanks for joining us today. Forward to hearing your story. A lot of folks will probably enjoy hearing your story, powerful message in that. So why don't I hand it over to you and you kind of tell us how you got here, kind of your story.
First, thanks for having me, Mark. Good morning to you. Yeah, man, fate, divine intervention, sponsor is my sponsor to this day, really brought me here. The happening that got me here, I was divorced, but I was still kind of living with my now ex-wife, and I shouldn't have been there. And basically, I had left on my own fruition. I'd been on about a month runner, sleeping out of my car wherever I could and handling where I could. I just kind of fell apart. I had a breakdown of sorts. And about a week leading up to my landing in AAHAA, I had tried going to a Oxford house. That didn't work. And I was sleeping in my car in the parking lot of the South King County Law Club here, just up the road. And I get a knock at my window one morning. A guy who had just left an AAA meeting is like, "Have you heard of AAHAA? What is it?" Tells me what it is. And so I came in here, and I remember I sat down with you and kind of gave you a brief description of, my drugs of choice, my history, and my sponsor, even though I wasn't working or had anything to my name, paid my fee to get in here so I could have some housing. And that'll be 5 years ago on May 26th. And I've been clean since that day. Yeah, so that's how I got here. Boy, it's the longest I've ever been clean since really middle school. Kind of what led me up to this. My like a lot of kids from the 70s, my parents divorced at a very young age. And my dad and I have had what I call a rocky relationship my whole life. And I mention this only because my personal feeling is that it played a role in, kind of what I grew up to be later in life. When I went over there to see him, it always felt very forced. He remarried when I was still fairly young. He had 2 daughters. There was definitely a difference how he treated them to how he treated me. And although I was very close with my grandparents, his parents, it just, "Hey, Todd, let's me and you go do something," never happened. The true dad-son thing. And although my stepdad, because I lived with my mom, he was way cool. I had 2 stepbrothers, half-brothers with him and my mom. And, they were into sports in a big way and me not quite as much. It just wasn't really my thing. So I just kind of felt not really alone in a crowded house, but I just always felt like I could always fly under the radar and do my own thing. And I definitely learned at an early age the art of manipulation. If I wanted something from my mom, she said no, I knew how to, make her upset. And that was very mean. But at the time, all I knew was, get the toy that I wanted because I wasn't getting the attention. So as time progressed and I got into my teens and discovered particularly alcohol, and I loved it. It made me feel like Superman because I always got really good grades, but I realized early on that the kids that got the good grades did pull the A-tier females. And I was way more interested in women, girls, than I was good grades. So when I realized that the party crowd at my school anyway got the girl, well, sign me up, let's go. And it really started from there. I just became a different person. You get me in a social atmosphere with a couple of drinks and I'd be the funniest guy. I'd be the life of the party. And I loved it. I loved the attention. Then fast forward to my late teens, early 20s, and one of my best friend's dads owned nightclubs in Seattle. And the one he owned in Ballard at the time, it was called Sharky's. This is 90. He sold it in 95. And I became a DJ there. It was right on the water in Shoal Bay. And that's when the cocaine really kind of got it mixed. I'd used it playing in high school, but I realized then I could drink as much as I want, be the life of the party as late as I wanted. And, it was just game on from there. And really what had happened from there, I tried to get away from it because I met my first wife and her dad owned a Ford dealership in Tacoma. And our dad had said, gosh, you should get into selling cars, do well at it. Cars, smoke cigarettes. I don't own anything polyester. It's not for me. But when I found out what, the kind of money you can make, it interested me. Well, I started selling cars and I realized it was really no different than picking up women. I figured it out that way. The problem with that was in those days is there was a lot of drugs rampant and, you'd get a 8-ball thrown at you for selling 3 cars in a day, just like you would with a little bit of money. And so I had moved out of Seattle. This would have been in early 90s because my wife, she was from Tacoma and her dad owned a Ford store in the Tacoma area. So even though I was trying to get away from it, and I did, it kind of followed me and not even realizing it. And all the hours I worked, just cocaine always seemed to go hand in hand. I was just happy at the time to have a father figure that believed in me, A, and B, showed me a career because I had no real education. So, here this man, allows me to marry his daughter. She's pregnant with my daughter and doesn't know a ton about me, but yet gives me this great opportunity. And so as time went on, I slowly but surely cut everything out of my life. By the late 90s, really, I was just focused on work. The problem was I wasn't focused on my marriage. So right around 2000, my first wife filed for divorce and I just fell apart. And I lost it. I tried killing myself a couple times by ODing and it didn't work. And I ended up in a padded room a few times. So I ended up getting a few DUIs and the alcohol-related domestic violence charge and all that stuff and fought through all that. I ended up moving to Bellevue. By then, I found out my left leg could also be used in ways not intended. So yeah, all of the 2000s was just an endless cycle. I worked my way up the ladder in the car business. I was running the number one Chrysler Jeep store in Washington, but behind the scenes, I'm a total mess. I'm living on oxys to get through the day and cocaine and vodka at night. That was my life for the next 8-9 years. Get married the second time to a female that I shouldn't have. She was my best friend's girlfriend, our senior year of high school. We ended up having a son together, like 91. She finds me on Facebook and we end up getting married, and go figure, I end up becoming my best friend's son's stepdad. Fully weird dynamic, but we made it work. She had 4 kids and, I had 2. And so we just had this big kind of family dynamic. And I stepped away from booze and everything for about 3 years and thought everything was going great. And we had a daughter together, and she's chosen her stepdad as her father figure. And I understand that. But when that marriage didn't work, I could tell it was starting not to work. I went right back to what I knew, and that was pills, cocaine, and alcohol, not necessarily out of order. So that brings us to kind of how I got here today. It was just kind of the endless cycle since 1984, 1985 of cocaine, alcohol, and pills. And, what I thought was that I can stop at any time, but what the reality was, I would put them on the back burner and that they'd always be there when needed, like a fire alarm, break glass if needed. It was just always there just because I wasn't using it. The problem was this last time when it got me here, I'd been doing it so heavy and so long again that, if I didn't drink, I'd get the shakes. Every time I would have that first drink in the morning, I'd vomit blood. And I thought that was normal. Like, it's not normal, but you're so caught up in where you are. And, I tried going to rehab, inpatient 3 times, and of course the jail stays and all that. And I never got any answers. But what I found by coming here and going to AA meetings and NA meetings, they say do 90 and 90. Well, when I got here, I did 90 and 50. I knew that I needed help and that I had no other outside resources. Nothing. I had the clothes on my back, and I mean, I looked like a bum. I was panhandling, for crying out loud. So when I got here, come May 26th, it'll be 5 years ago, I took it seriously. I got very lucky and I got a job. But before I did that, there was a kind of a 2 month, 2 month gap where I did the 90 meetings in 50 days and just soaked up everything my sponsor had to tell me. You know, he would tell me to do stuff, but I'd question, but I just would do it. And my sponsor, you know, he's exactly what I needed. For all the times I used to curse at God for putting the blue lights in my rearview mirror or pray to God that please don't let me get caught this time for whatever reason, he answered an unasked prayer for putting this guy in my life. He's in his early mid-70s, kind of a grizzled old tough guy, you know, retired Air Force, was a hardcore drinker and knows my BS, you know, and having been in the car business my whole life, I mean, that's how I got by for so many years. I was a professional liar. I took what I learned in my professional life into my private life, and you know, weird, after the 280th lie, honey, you're not buying it anymore, you know, weird. But what he taught me was that A, I can't expect forgiveness from everyone. B, that I can't ask to make amends. C, it's up to them if they want to let me. That, you know, it took me 35 years of hardcore drinking, drug abuse to get here, that I can't expect all to be hunky-dory at 6 months. It doesn't work that way. And that was, I think, the problem with every time I went to rehab. I expected to come out of rehab and, hey, you know, things are great. I'm so, no, you're not sober. You got a 60-day vacay. You know, all your meals were there, and some professional speakers came in. You're not sober. It's easy to be in one of those places and come out clean. That's when you get back out that the work starts. And I never understood that. Oh, he explained these things to me. That made a lot of sense. And you did too. I remember that the first time, you know, meeting with you, and I didn't have, you know, I was embarrassed. I was mentally beaten down. I didn't think I had anything to offer your program other than, you know, I'll do my chore and keep my room clean and do whatever you want and get to work as soon as I can. And you allowed me to do that and have shown me grace in a lot of ways that most people wouldn't. And you've shown belief in me, and I appreciate that from you, Mark. That's something that I treasure today more than anything else, is when somebody gives me an opportunity and believes in me, because I let so many people down for so many years. You know, I did things, you know, to my mom, are despicable, buying stuff with her credit, you know, because I had it, because I sold her cars over the years. You know, my dad's a different story, but, you know, hurting my brothers because of all the pain I put my mom through over the years, the pain I put my kids through. So when somebody shows belief in me, that's something that you and my sponsor have shown, and what's kind of got me, along with my house meetings, are very important, and a very stable, very close-knit group of people that I keep in my life. Everything else is scenery. I don't care about, you know, being popular. Christ, I'm 70 pounds overweight. I'm damn near 54. I'm not a kid anymore, you know? So the things that used to matter to me don't matter to me now, or my kids, this program, and helping it in any way I can, and giving back in any way I can. And if this little, you know, podcast that we're doing helps one person, you know, say, you know, maybe I do need help, or ask the question, am I drinking too much, or am I using too much? Well, if you're using, you are using too much. And if you have to ask if you're drinking too much, you are drinking too much. I mean, if you got to ask the question, the answer is already there. Sure. You know, then my opinion. But if it gets one person, you know, the idea of getting help, then so be it. You know, to me, giving back is what's important today, because all I did was take for ever since I was a kid was, what's in it for me? How do I get it? How soon do I get it? And I just can't. I can't do that. So today, where I find happiness is time spent with my kids, time spent with my mom, time spent at the house, doing house meetings, talking with my guys, listening about their days, because I think that's important. A lot of people didn't have that growing up. So I make sure I ask my guys, how's your day? Means something. So anyway, that's my Cliff's Notes story. Sticking to it. Yeah, this is pretty much it.
Well, Todd, that's an awesome story, man. There's a lot of information in there. One of the things I'd be interested to hear, or a couple of things actually, is kind of, you talked about going through rehab a few times, going in jail, and just kind of your transition through those moments. And I believe that we all come to a place where it's like, aha, this is it, right? I'm really, really done. And so what I'd like to hear, when did you actually realize that? Like, okay, that's it for me. That's the last time.
Well, I'll share with you two things. The first will be an example of why I didn't believe it was time. I remember, I was in court in Kent for my third DUI. They were trying to, I had spent through the nose for a good attorney, and they were going to put a blow and go in my car, and they wanted to give me an ankle bracelet and whatnot. And so I asked the attorney if I can speak to the judge, and she's like, "No, don't say anything. Just sit there." I just said, "Your Honor," and I put my hand up, and the judge looks at me and says, "Yes, Mr. Fee, you have something you'd like to say?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I understand I'm at the mercy of the court, Your Honor, but I'm in the car business, and I drive cars like people change socks. I don't have a car to put a blow and go on. And the ankle monitor thing, I'm a sales manager. I'm the first one in the door, and depending on how late we're doing a car deal, I might be at work. I'm the last to leave, so I might be at work till 11:30 if we get a late night car deal." So he's like, "Okay, well, we'll waive the blow and go, but if I have you home by midnight, is that late enough?" Yeah, absolutely. So, out in the parking lot is my, 2000 Cobra Mustang, and I totally just BS'd the judge. And that was how I got to still go to the bar. I'd be at the bar with my ankle bracelet on, showing my sales guys like, "Ha, look at me," So that's why I kept, going, because I got away with so much. I even had to do intensive outpatient one time, and it was all the way out in like Spanaway, and I was living in Bellevue. So I remember approaching the owner of the outpatient. I'm like, "Look, man, if I just pay for this program in full, can you, just say I've gone?" He's like, "Sure, but don't get in any trouble." And I didn't. Even after the rehabs and all that, I still didn't. When I decided enough was enough, I was in the parking lot of the auto club. Probably the first week I was there, I was still drinking, and I was in the driver's seat of my car, and the club was closed. It was probably about 12 or 12:30. I can't remember. And I'm kind of hanging out in my car, half passed out, half, whatever you want to call it. And I come to, and I've got blood and puke all down my sleeve and going down into this pool outside on the ground and outside of my car. And and I'm just like, "Man, I'm going to die here." I mean, I hadn't seen or talked to any family in a month. And I just walked out on my, then 5-6-year-old daughter and crushed her. And I thought to myself, "Man, if I don't stop bullshitting these people, more importantly myself, if I don't start coming to meetings and not drinking all day while I'm doing it, then I'm going to be dead in a month." And so I stayed in my car for 3 days. I detoxed myself, shakes, night sweats, the brain zaps, all of it, seizures for 3 days. Those were the longest 3 days of my life, man. But by some miracle, I got through it. And a week later to the day is when I got the knock on that window of my car, and the guy telling me about AAHA. I had also met my sponsor that week leading up to that. So I definitely believe things happen for a reason. For all the times I cursed God for being there. He's now my higher power, and he's very active in my life. Instead of cursing him today, I give him thanks.
Awesome. Absolutely. So last thing I'd like to touch on before we wrap this up, and just From you, what do you feel like you do today that keeps you? What do you do for yourself that keeps you, pretty much in the right headspace, keeps your emotional level and feeds you?
Yeah, structure. Having a structure. I just started a new job, and it's a dream job. And unfortunately, I missed a few days. I was really sick, and it's just been eating at me, because for me, structure is everything. I talk to my daughter once or twice a week. I talk to my oldest. She turns 29 this month. Hey, Tara, I know you're going to listen to this. And my son, Todd Jr., TJ, turned 27 last month. I talk to him every night. Checking in with them daily is important, just so I know what's going on with them. Talking to my mom more than just when I need something, but just to call and tell her I love her. Doing things at the house, and maybe it's not my chore. Maybe it's just pulling a guy aside and saying, "Hey, how's everything going with you? How are you doing? How'd you sleep last night?" Means stuff to me today. Talking to my sponsor, if I can, once a week, or at least a text message, just to let them know, "Hey, everything's good. Everything going on okay with you." But these things are things that I never had before. I never cared much for. But having structure in my life today is what keeps me on balance. Like, for example, that I didn't talk to my guys for 2 days straight. They know something's up. At least I believe that, because I'm always asking them, does that mean I'm out playing video games with them all day? No. But what it does mean is they know that, hey, Todd asks what's going on. Maybe they look at it that I'm being nosy. Maybe some of them realize that it's out of a place of care. But those are the things that mean something to me today. Also, in my work, I don't look necessarily about how to take advantage of people anymore. I look at I'm earning a living doing what I do, but I don't do it from a place of deviousness anymore. I do it from a place of, how can I help this customer get into the car or truck they want, where it makes sense for them and it makes sense for the business, which will ultimately make sense for me. And I noticed that, I'm happier most days. I don't have the stress of feeling like I've got to be the number one guy at my work anymore. Those kind of things I let go of. I don't need to be the best at anything. I just want to be felt important in something. And this platform and AAHAA and what we do gives me a platform to do that. And that's what I do today that keeps me on the straight and narrow.
Awesome, Todd. I appreciate you sharing that. I just want to say thank you again for coming in this morning and doing this podcast there. And thank you all for tuning in. And again, I hope you find a message in Todd's story that resonates with you and it continues to guide you down the right path. Thanks again, Todd.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the What's Up Wednesday podcast. Tune in for more addiction recovery content by AAHAA Supportive Housing.